8. Recognizing established patterns.
Yeah, great call.
Okay. Recognizing established patterns. How do we recognize established patterns of behavior in our thoughts, feeling, and actions? The wheel of necessity of daily life must come to stand still each day for us to observe the effects of our behavior upon others. To begin with, all that is required is 5 minutes a day, 5 minutes a day to be still. Imagine that. But what does this mean? This can be the hard 5 minutes one can spend in a day. Steiner outlined this exercise as a way to begin to learn how to control one's own nature, to put the reins back into the hands of the driver. For those who are driving the wild horses of a human nature, this can be very difficult, but it is essential and vital. The 5 minutes centering meditation is the most effective when done at the same time every day. This helps one remember to do it and builds a healthy habit of doing something positive for oneself every day. But it is better to do the exercise every day, regardless of the exact time, rather than skip a day.
Yeah, I think it is self-explanatory. You can continue.
Okay. Find a quiet place to sit down comfortably, upright with the feet on the floor. Do not lie down, as there is a danger of falling asleep. Turn off all phones, computer, television, and radio, and so forth. No interruption for 5 minutes. For mothers, it is good to do this exercise at the beginning of the nap time or for baby, before the children come home or when at work, at lunchtime when one can find a place to sit quietly. Quite random thoughts, feelings, or worries. Strive to come to complete inner quiet and stillness. This is very difficult to do because human beings are awash with a tsunami or impulses, thoughts and feeling overwhelm us every minute of the day. Sometimes I imagine that I am sitting in a sphere of a calm water. Slowly an emerald green light filters down through the water and through my whole body. It moves through each part of me, releasing tension and relaxing. I give up all my stress and tension. Once the light passes through my feet into the earth, I focus on one thought or better a word or image so that my whole consciousness is filled with it. I strive to hold this state of being for a few minutes. After 5 minutes, I open my eyes, breathe deeply, and take another moment to get myself ready to resume the day. With a daily practice, the quiet time will become longer and one will begin to gain more control over a healthy detachment from other areas in one's life, have more confidence, and feel more centered. This is a great help for children too. They will feel the change and will respond differently. You will have more forces with which to deal with daily life. Good luck, don't give up. This process takes daily practice. Self knowledge and change require perseverance and are hard won. Our children know that we get better at things when we practice.
Yeah, definitely this is a practice that we must do for our own sake. It is part of the self-care that we talk about. And it is essential that we take care of ourselves before we want to do anything else.
Yes.
The eyes and ears are the two important sense organs that bring in the stimulus. And somewhere, if we can shut those two, Typically when we sit and meditate, we close our eyes. However, ears remain open. Eye is the one that will get lots of impulses. So yeah, you shut it down. And then if you can also plug your ears, maybe to begin with, you can listen to some guided meditation, or you could also record your own voice for certain things. If you can, with exercise, what he has given is you're imagining this light or green light that is passing and cleansing you out. If that is difficult, then you could listen to your own voice, giving yourself some tips. You can also listen to a very meaningful song because mind wanders off instantly. I mean, it's amazing how it wanders off, and we have to keep bringing it back. So maybe if you can listen to a bhajan or any musical instrument, something that draws you in. And if you can consistently do it, that's important. He says, I mean, Steiner gives us many exercises, some very mundane type of exercises, at the same time, every single day without taking any break, making no excuses. That is what is taming our crazy mind. And it is worth it. It is worth it for anybody, especially parents and teachers, but it is essential for anybody. And here we are talking about parenting. So it is going to support our children. Like you mentioned, children will see the difference in us. They may not be able to communicate it, verbalize it, but there will be difference. And don't give up, because you will not have an overnight shift. It takes time. So be patient. And maybe form a group. Two of us can pair up, buddy up. We can post this, whatever we have done in the group, make group a little active and post it as to how many of you will commit to do something. If not 5 minutes, begin with 1 minute. 1 minute of holding a mudra a certain way, or just sitting still also, bodily, physical. Thoughts can go anywhere, but just sit with your spine in an upright position for 1 minute. So take up some challenge and do it consistently. All right.
Yeah, I can connect this one when I started doing the meditation. Now a little bit gap is there, but 3-4 months continuously without skipping, I was doing it. But I can see changes in me. What changes I actually, that practice makes actually every day. Yeah, we have to do it. But changes we can see ourselves. So
right. And any of you who cannot meditate, I have tried like meditation. I can sometimes do, sometimes I can't do. But for me, journaling is meditation.
yeah.
So meditation has, let's not go with the stereotype of image that we have. It can be singing, it can be your crafts, it could be cooking, it could be even dishwashing, washing dishes, right? Arranging something in your kitchen shelf, folding your clothes, doing it with full attention is what it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, same time every day is something next level of sharpening the saw.
Correct. Yeah. Okay. Self-observation and transformation. Self-observation is tricky thing. First, we must learn to be objective, honest, and forgiving. It is easier to do this with everyone else in our lives than with ourselves. That is another story. If only I had tried harder. If only I had known. If only I had more time. Sound familiar. How can we learn to look at ourselves as we would look at a stranger? How we perceive ourselves is like looking through a multicolored screen that is always moving. We are not detached emotionally from ourselves, the situation, or the outcome. How can we become an objective observer of ourselves. Again, this is not an easy task and takes time and practice.
Definitely, definitely. You know, one thing I recently did this experiment, or my mentor suggested it, was to write down my own values. What do I value the most? What are my beliefs? And, generically, we don't really understand the meaning, the deeper meaning of what is being honest or what is forgiving. And I wrote down, honesty was also one of my values. And then she told me, look it up in the dictionary. Look for the meaning of this word and see if you fit in to every definition that is out there for the honesty. And I wasn't. I said, oh, well, I'm not honest. Forgiving. For me, simplicity, honesty, integrity were some of my values. And I spent almost half a day in getting definitions from various sources to see if I could fit in any of those completely. And then I realized, okay, the more deeper you get into this, you will be transforming, you will be healing, but there will also be more that you will discover. And it becomes a joyful process. It's not like, oh my God, look at me, I'm like Pandora's box and there's so many problems with me. No. At some point, you will realize, okay, I'm a human being. I'm supposed to be having some defects, and that's okay as long as I'm not suffering because of those. And especially any of you who have journaling habit and you're writing out your patterns and your blocks that are stopping you. I started journaling about during the COVID time 4 years ago, 5 years ago now. And I go back through those journals and I'm like, oh my God, I'm still stuck with the same problem. 5 years, I have not evolved. And then I start writing, where have I evolved? Is that still at the same intensity? And then one fine day I realized the frequency of repetition of these patterns have reduced. The intensity with which I would react has also reduced. So there is progress. Right? So understanding ourselves, that is self-observation. There's nobody else I can possibly change. I need to observe and I need to transform. Then you start looking at everybody differently. Somebody who was my competition now becomes, oh, how can I help that person succeed? Somebody I find irritating or boring, and then what is in me that is not grasping or labeling and judging the other person as boring and irritating. So we begin to question when we start observing ourselves, how can I change or perceive it differently? And if I cannot, then what gives me the right to expect someone else to change? So ponder upon it. All right.
When I was growing up, my mother used to play a psychological game of baiting me into a conversation that would ultimately result in my becoming hysterical, out of control, screaming and crying. She would then sit and smile or laugh at me. I would flee off my room in a distraught state. Nothing was really gained from this dance. No one really won anything, but my mother retained control over my state of being. She never felt sorry for what she did and would go on as if nothing had happened. We all got our own brand of dysfunctional treatment from her. At the age 17, on the advice of our family doctor who knew my parents well and was treating me for the possible beginnings of an ulcer, I began therapy with a counselor. To say that I was under stress is putting it mildly. During the therapy, I began to realize how much of my own self destructive behavior was due to the influence of my crazy mother. Next time I caught myself in the middle of one of her dances, I felt the room before it hits its peak. Eventually, I could recognize a situation in which this emotional interaction would start and could stop it before it started by removing myself from the line of fire. One day, many years later, I was able to disengage from her when she tried to play these psychological games.
Yeah, the mother had her own baggage that she needed to be in control. And it didn't matter who she was playing that game with. And she probably never even knew that it would cause psychological stress, eventually building up into a physical disease. So, in generally, science philosophy, we say that we are responsible for our own diseases, unless it is like contagious. I mean, even with contagious diseases, people have done experiments where they put these live viruses in our system, and people with a strong sense of self belief and self confidence, self esteem, um, strong trust in themselves do not contract the virus, and the ones who don't have it contract it immediately. So, any problem that we are dealing with would be a good start to begin questioning. And for this girl, she did not know her mother was crazy. And eventually, the ulcer took her to the doctor. And fortunately, the doctor was also a little bit uh, more aware. So he referred her to a counselor. Fortunately, again, she took up that advice and started getting some therapies. Eventually, she could disengage with such dysfunctional behavior. And many of us are in that state already because we have gone through, we are adults now, gone through the traumas, be it parents, be it relatives, be it friends, undue competition from the community. It could be anything. And that is where, if you can recognize, are you prone for migraines? Are you prone for falling sick often? You even getting cold, cough often is an indication that somewhere your immune system is down because something is not coping in your system. And graying of the hair. I mean, we know the problems now, right? When children as young as 8, 9 year olds are getting diabetes and stuff. I mean, there is contribution of bad air, adulterated food, all of that. But a big chunk is also what I'm thinking about myself. How is it that even before the world rejects me, I have already rejected myself. So I do not participate with the world, I withdraw. And then I blame that nobody cares for me. Any of these patterns will emerge. And if you don't have an idea about that yet, look at the discomfort you feel during the day. If you have already attracted a physical discomfort, begin questioning that. Look at it, it's not just physical discomfort. There's a lot going on behind it. And when I go through this healing process myself, I'll be able to understand children better. And before we give that, again, I as a parent need not be the culprit, like in this example. My child goes out into the world and God knows what's happening with that child out there. So if I work on myself, I'll be sensitive enough to recognize that every day my child comes home bubbling, cheerful, and today she's withdrawn and sitting in a corner. What may have happened? So I'll be sensitive enough to give her space, give her time, but still get to her to understand what may be going on. And that is when we are building relationships, connections, compassion. And that is what is something we all need. The basic need, love and compassion. And when we miss it, there are many, many issues that crop up. But let's begin with ourselves. All right.
We cannot change our parents, but we can choose to change ourselves. By doing so, we can often initiate a change in the relationship with our own parents, children, spouse, or partner. But it is hard work, and one can fall down many times on the path to transformation. The point is to get up and keep at it. One day we will reach the goal.
Definitely. And in this process, it's also important to have someone, a mentor, someone to just talk. And if we don't have anyone that I trust, and typically, we start, especially the ones who are talkative, who are extroverts, they keep telling the stories to everybody. And they keep getting hurt in the process when that person does not respond or makes a bad mark. So we got to be choosy to who we tell, how much we tell, what we tell, and think before we share. But it's important to keep looking for that one person. You're really lucky if you have one person in your life. We have lots of family around us. We may have our siblings very close to us, but they may not be supportive. And definitely with parents, we cannot share many, many, many things. So it's important for you to keep looking for someone who can mentor, be as a mentor, be available to you, to listen to you without judging, labeling, putting you down, advising. It's not like therapy. Therapy is we go to seek solutions. Mentor can also give you solution, but then it's more of a discussion. When you speak out loud, things emerge for yourself. And certain practices you commit, you keep doing. That is like sharpening the sword, taking a bath every day. We need to have a soul bath every day. And that's, 5-minute meditation every day is part of that. We need to cleanse ourselves from inside. Outside can be dirty sometimes, but inside, if it is dirty, it creates havoc in the family, for myself, in the community. So we will fall, we may not get the results as quickly as we anticipate, especially there are a lot of channels, Insta groups, posts, that says, oh, it's life transformation, $299 for the course, and life will be changed after you attend this 40-minute session. I wish it was that easy. It may happen in 40 minutes if you have put 4 years, 40 years worth of work behind it. That aha moment, that realization may come in 4 minutes, 40 minutes. People have realized in a fraction of a moment, but then there is work also required to be able to comprehend what is it that is coming to me as a solution. So let's commit to it. Let's begin. And every one of you who is under 40, it's a good time you start. I mean, there is also this 18-year cycle that Steiner talks about. Major shifts happen in our life around the 18-year shifts. So if you are around 34, 35, expect a shift, and you can define what the shift is going to be around 36. The next one is coming to you at 54. And when I started mentoring for myself, I signed up with a mentor. I was just turning 54, and I was like, I got to do it. I cannot miss this 18-year cycle. It has to happen. And I gave myself this example, like a railway junction. So I'm in a train and I have to catch another train getting off at particular junction. If I forget to get off, then I may continue in this train, but then I'll have to come back or keep going until next junction. So I'm losing time. So somewhere it clicked and it said, I got to do it. I got to do it. And that's what forced me to spend 2-3 hours a day in journaling, in reflecting, in figuring out my patterns and keep working at it. And it did help. So any of you take advantage of that. 7-year cycle is one thing that you can take advantage of. Any multiples of 7, if you're 35, 42, 49, 56, also have those. I mean, that's why Kumbh Mela has become such a big sensation now, because there's a huge possibility for people who have been on the spiritual path to go to the next level. It's like a kickstart, a jump start there. So take advantage of that, and let this reading session be a catalyst in your spiritual journey. We'll stop here for today, and any questions you could post, ask. Otherwise, good night.